You see this logo? Do people know what this logo is? Yeah. Silk Road is the best thing that happened in crypto. And Ross Ulbricht, he created the Silk Road where you could buy anything. It was the first agorist cypherpunk market that existed, and they put him in jail. They made an example out of him, and now he's going to be free. This is the best news I've heard in a long time. So I want to offer a libation to those who have made sacrifices in the past and those who are yet to come and will also make sacrifices. So I honor these people. So, may we walk in their path and do justice to their work. And as above, in the cosmos, in the heavens, and in nature, so it is down below here where we live, where we exist. And this is what we're going to go into today, this knowledge, this wisdom. We're going to talk about these things. So, very quickly about myself. I'm Amir Taaki. I'm a free software developer for over 20 years. I was a core Bitcoin developer in 2010 to 2015. I worked on privacy tech for over 10 years, made the first privacy algos in Bitcoin, CoinJoin, stealth addresses, wrote the BIP1, made the first UK Bitcoin exchange. I also was in the YPG. I fought on the front line against ISIS. I was part of the North Syrian Rojava government for 3 years, working in the revolutionary government. And in this talk, I'm going to talk about DarkFi. So very quickly, DarkFi is L1 for anonymous smart contracts. You all probably know what that means, but most people don't. But so basically, it's in the same way Monero is the anonymous version of Bitcoin, we're the anonymous version of Ethereum. So, and I'll also talk about our app today that we're developing, which is cross-platform for mobile and desktop. So, about the name Dark Wallet, it actually comes from, DarkFi, it comes from a project called Dark Wallet in 2013, which was a project that, a group of us co-founded, me, Cody Wilson, who invented the 3D printed gun, Vitalik was also a co-founder, and a team of Spanish hackers. And you can go on YouTube, you can find the original announcement video for Dark Wallet. It's an important piece of Bitcoin history. But the name, it came from the director of the FBI, James Comey. He gave a speech, and he said that the mass usage of cryptography, if it gets adopted, it threatens to create these dark zones in the internet. And he says this disconnect creates a significant public safety problem, which they call the going dark problem. And this is what we refer to, this dark forest, which the dark forest is a place where it enables communities to thrive, to be protected, to mobilize, to have cover and concealment. And, for really the cypherpunk values to take root and to flourish. What are the cypherpunk values? There are three things that I think are the core things. One, strong anonymity. None of this privacy, blah, blah, blah. No, strong anonymity, as in nobody can find who you are and put you in jail. That's a really important quality. No compromises. There is no such thing as, different degrees of anonymity. There is either it's anonymous or it's not. Second, censorship resistance. Nobody can stop you speaking. You can say whatever you want. There is absolute 100% free speech. Thirdly, sovereignty. Nobody can come down and shut down your infrastructure. Your infrastructure is your own. We own it. The community owns it. So Why do we need these? Why do we need to have these cypherpunk values? You know, well, imagine this. Imagine an authoritarian government comes into power and starts putting your friends in jail, and you want to mobilize to create a parallel free society. So what do? You need to first be able to communicate fully anonymously. You know, you need to be talk with each other to get the message out. Then you go and you form an anonymous DAO. And you know, the DAO is completely anonymous, all your members are protected, and you fundraise and you raise money. And then you are able to allocate resources to projects. You're able to pay people in your project anonymously. You're able to pay them a salary for the work that they do. And you're able to coordinate work. You have anonymous task managers. You have the anonymous tooling to be able to coordinate effectively. And then people get paid, and they need to trade that. They need to go to OTC. They need to convert it to cash. They need to be able to pay for their life. And so therefore, people are able to mobilize, and they're able to take back their freedom. And you know, the time is coming. Like, things are reaching that point. Within the next 5 years or so, you know, we all feel it. There's going to be some mega event happen of great political, economic significance. It's coming, and we have to gear up and prepare. You know, not be complacent. You know, we have to use all of our means, our resources to build our capability. So when the time comes, we already have an empire on the internet, an empire of parallel societies that's ready to mobilize and take freedom from the government. Oops, this one. So, you know, and you know, the principle I always think of is, you know, it's like, if you say something and, you know, it's not even that, you know, offensive or whatever, but you say something and I suddenly react in a really strong way. I like twist your arm, I use force against you. You know, that's not a sign of strength. So when the governments are putting devs in jail, when devs are dying suspicious deaths, you know, they're really showing their hands. They're showing where they're really afraid. They're putting devs in jail for making anonymous software. So that is an indicator to us where we have to push more. Not, you know, they're trying to frighten us into compliance. They're trying to make us scared. We have to do the opposite. We have to be defiant. We have to stand up and say, no, we're going to do more of this, and nothing you can do about it, because history has taken a course and is going to keep taking that course, because when a technology has arrived whose time has come, it cannot be stopped. And you know, people go, oh, you know, DarkFi, what about this, you know, competitor or that? There is no real competitor to DarkFi, because you've got all these privacy projects, and they're going, you know, devs are being sent to jail for making privacy software, and they go, oh yeah, join our Discord. Oh, check out our Google Docs. If they're saying that, they're obviously not afraid of going to jail. And if they're not afraid of going to jail, they're obviously not doing anything important. We just, like, as cryptocurrency, we've had billions and billions of dollars poured into this industry. We still have not built the tools that people actually need to mobilize. I'm going on Twitter and I'm reading projects going, the future is AI agents, conscious coordinate. It's like, you haven't even built a chat app. You're using Google Docs. It's pathetic. Like, we have not built the stuff that people need. And you know how it works? The VCs, they get money from the central banks, they print the money, and the projects, they want to, you know, they want to, like, please the VCs. They go, oh, Mr. VC, you know, we're not disrupting the status quo. And so they present themselves in a certain way, and that's why everybody's been too afraid to innovate, to really push what crypto is about. Crypto is about being able to send money from any one place in the world to any other place, you know, unencumbered, truly anonymous. Nobody can stop you. And you know what? People always go, oh, you know, what about DarkFi? What about criminals? And you know what? It's like, it's no mistake that all the movies and the media that we consume is about criminals, is about gangsters or mafias, etc. Because people have a really real sense that we are colonized by a foreign occupier, which is the state. which is the governments. And it's like their authority has become so dubious, you know, and that's why, you know, the appeal, that's where the appeal comes from. And in this sense, you know, we end up going, oh, you know, the criminals, maybe they're more like us than these people in power, than our rulers actually are. And, you know, they invent this label of criminal, and they put that on us, and they judge us by their standards. We're playing the rules by their game, the rules that they made, you know. You can never have the same morality between the rich and powerful and the poor and the oppressed. We're just not on the same level. So we need to stop thinking in their game, playing their games. Now, there's a really important thing to note here, which is we are not criminals. We are forest rebels. We are fighting for a righteous cause. We have morals. We have philosophy. We're not mafias. If you want to say anybody is a criminal, they are the true criminals. Literally 2 million people were killed in the Middle East for nothing, absolutely nothing. It's like the amount of crime that's been done against humanity by states, by the global system, is really astounding when you look at it. So when we are trying to get back our freedom with technology, for free society to organize amongst themselves, and they go, oh, that's very criminal. They are hypocrites, absolute hypocrites. So no, we will not stop. We will push fully towards the OG vision of what crypto was really about. You know, and so this is the Lunapunk, RegFi, DarkFi war. You know. Where is it? So I just explained. Okay, I got a point there. Okay, so there are two types of system, and I'm going to tell you why we're going to win, why we're ultimately going to win, because there's two types of system. One is fragile system, which is the whole RegFi side of crypto, where you go to VCs and you're like, oh, Mr. VC, give me some money. You know, I'm doing this really compliant thing. You know, you see it with projects that are like, oh, we've got Visa and MasterCard or whoever on board, or BlackRock. And the thing is, as soon as they get any pushback, the liquidity gets scared and exits. It's a fragile system. And those VCs, they go into the next thing, which is, I don't know, AI, whatever. It's like not authentic. Whereas the anti-fragile means that it's a system that the more you shake it, the stronger it gets, the more powerful it gets. So when we have anonymous cypherpunk cryptocurrency P2P systems, when they attack it, it validates why you need that. And then people go, oh, you know, these people, I thought they were crazy, but actually there's truth in what they're saying. You know, and that causes liquidity to migrate to those systems. Just think about the things that we say today that, you know, people were saying 5-10 years ago that people thought was crazy. You know, it's like not even controversial anymore to say that there are hostile elements in the government that actively look down on the people, despise people, and want to divide society, want society to not exist so they can control us better. And it's a very dystopian, and this is a long history, goes back to the Victorian ages of the ideologies, garden cities, factory school system. This is the system being a long time in making, and it's a system that deliberately, by design, makes people passive and nihilist, makes people not activated and not reach their full potential. It's one that sees society as a resource to be harvested, to be used. So, you know, the more that they crack down on crypto, this side. So there's a feedback loop with anonymity and surveillance. The more we're more effective in our work, the more the states resort to hard power, to surveillance. the more that they're forced to take off their mask and reveal who they truly are, and the more it causes us to fight back and to develop more anonymity software. Sorry. And so, you know, this feedback loop, it radicalizes crypto. It leads to the true agorist nature of crypto being unlocked. So, you know, I'll go this one first. So if you look at the Tornado Cash case, how did they get those guys? There's three, you can look in the case, but there's three main things. First, you know, so the reason why they put them in jail is because they made Tornado Cash. That much is obvious. But it's not how they put them in jail. In the same way Al Capone, he got put in jail because of the taxes. So in the Tornado Cash case, there was three things. One, they had access to their internal Signal chats. And they're able to say, oh, well, you know, you said this, and therefore, you know, you're kind of like, you know, the CEO. Secondly, they had a DAO, a transparent DAO. And so they were able to go, oh, well, you own this amount of tokens. You're kind of like a board member in this company. Thirdly, they were running infrastructure. So this is something when we've been developing DarkFi, because we're not just building, you know, a product. We're building a network, a community. We've been thinking, how do we protect ourselves? And so the first thing is we were like, okay, even if you use Signal, even if you use an anonymous chat app, your messages are linked together. You have a persistent identity. So we created the world's first completely anonymous peer-to-peer chat application. Sorry, it's not on this screen. It's on the next one. This one here. And there is no linkability between your nicknames. So you can change your nickname to anything. And it uses cryptography like rate limit nullifiers to stop the network being spammed. But nothing like this exists in the world at all. Nothing. And it's peer-to-peer. It runs over Tor. It runs over NIM. You can use any anonymity network. And not only do we have the chat app, we also have tasks, so you don't have to use GitHub issues. So that way the devs are completely protected. So you can't, later on, even if they get access to the internal chats, because in the beginning, we wanted to be able to talk about the project in public, but what normally people have to do is they have to, you know, run away to private groups, and they have to, like, more and more become clandestine from the community because they're afraid of liability from speech. That's like, you know, they say we live in free speech. We don't live in free speech. You know, in England, people are being put in jail just for Facebook posts. There was a guy who held up a sign that said, oh, you know, BlackRock, the politicians, they're corrupt. He got 3 years in jail. So there's a very real attack on free speech. And in crypto, we have this as well. There are certain things that I cannot say. I cannot speak freely, otherwise I will go to jail. But we didn't want to have to run away from the community. We wanted to be able to engage with our community openly. So that's why we had to make a chat application where there is no linkability. You cannot take any chat and say, oh, you said this, you know, Mr. Amir, because I would just go, it wasn't me, it could be anybody, because anybody can use that nickname, you know. And then also, so I put it on. So also, you know, the DAO thing in Tornado Cash. So we had this experience. So people don't actually know, but Assange's freedom was bankrolled by the crypto community, by Assange DAO, which raised 55 million to free Assange. And, you know, when we made the DAO, you know, we had this idea that it would free Assange by all means necessary. It'd be this DAO that would, like, liberate this political prisoner, and it would take any action. But then once the DAO existed, there was this issue where it was a transparent DAO on ETH. And so nobody wants to vote in a DAO for such a high stakes political prisoner, especially if you're just some random dude, and they can come and they will take your life away from you and nobody will hear from you again. So it froze the DAO, it created inaction in the DAO. And secondly, the DAO was meant to participate in a public auction, but because the DAO's treasury was public, it broke the game theory of the auction. So in 2020, 2021, everybody was talking about DAOs, how DAOs were going to create this new form of movements, political organization online. There was things like squad wealth, the squad wealth thesis. None of that came to fruition, and instead what took over in Ethereum was this kind of, DeFi, degen kind of shitcoin nihilism. And I think the reason why the DAOs didn't take off is because they weren't anonymous. It didn't allow people to do real political action. Political action where there's high stakes, where you actually need DAOs. People need to be protected. And this is what crypto is really about. And we've really failed in delivering that. Thirdly, all of the infrastructure for DarkFi is completely P2P, self-hosted, sovereign. It's very easy, to set up, to go, we just need some web service. But we've really approached it with an adversarial mindset. There's no other project that's approaching it like that from first principles. And people always go to me, how can you coordinate a project when it's like anonymous? In the 90s, I would just join IRC channels, and there were random projects, and I'd go, hey, I've got a problem. And, we'd coordinate, and then, I'd start submitting patches to projects, and we'd work on it. And that was how we built open source. That was how we built the internet. That was the norm in the 90s. This is a new thing where on the internet, everybody has like a fancy profile picture of their face, their real name on Twitter with a blue check mark. We've been so brainwashed by the transparent paradigm that our imagination has become enclosed, that we cannot imagine another way that the internet can be, and people can't understand, how can you organize on the internet anonymously without KYC and real names? And so that's why it always goes back to these conversations about identity. And it's stopping us delivering the actual interesting tools that people need. People actually need to be able to have free speech. We haven't delivered that in crypto. We're not able, people are using Google documents still. Forget the AI stuff. What about the basic tools that we need? And actually, being anonymous online is very good because it teaches people, to think critically, to have defense in depth, to not there's this neo-feudalism that's arising on the internet where you're on some guy's platform and you choose your liege, and you're by being part of this liege's crew, he will treat me well. And that's why, for example, on Twitter, you see all the people going, Elon Musk is so great, because when Elon Musk blesses your post, you get boosted and you get monetized better. So that's the paradigm that the entire crypto community has been sucked into, and it's a failure. The crypto community is on Twitter. So come home, Cypherpunk. And, it's even worse than that because, Silicon Valley has this entire business model where, they're we need to capture as many normies as possible, and we need to tax them. And we all need to extract a little bit of money out of as many, individuals as possible. And, that's why when they make software that is good, there's a certain wisdom about how we make apps. The app, it needs to be, white, it needs to be non-threatening, it shouldn't have any values, it shouldn't stand for anything, it shouldn't have any principles, it needs to be super basic. And I've been going through, I watch a lot of sci-fi, and it's incredible, all the sci-fi, I'm not even just talking about the sci-fi in the 90s, I'm talking about the sci-fi now. Has this image of the future with UIs that look amazing, where it's like, like you've really stepped into another world. You have, the power at the end of your hand. And yet, for some reason, we're not get that. Instead, what we're getting is these crappy, Electron slop, Java shit apps, which are laggy and they crash. And they're just garbage. There's like so many garbage apps, and they're like surveillance silos. There's this mentality of Silicon Valley. I read an article recently which said that Gen Z does not know how to use a printer. I know a lot of you are Gen Z, and you probably know how to use a printer, but there is an endemic of, and I've noticed this in my lifetime, the level of skills in devs has dropped massively. Like, people are way less skilled than 10 years ago. I was even watching a video from the 80s of Dennis Ritchie, and he was going, oh yeah, well, my family went away for, a week, to visit their parents, their grandparents. And so I was alone, and that's when I wrote Unix. He wrote an operating system in a week. How hardcore is that? Can you imagine that today? Cannot. And so also said Gen Z doesn't know how to use a file system. And indeed, when you look on the Mac computer, it hides the file system from you. It hides the power of the technology. It's, in fact, you're not meant to use that full power of the technology. So not only is the technology being made for low IQ normie sheep. I'm sorry to use that. I don't think people are that, but I think that's how they view people. It's actually actively turning people into that. It's like the technology is making people stupid. So there's a different way of building technology, which is technology that enables us to build infrastructure. I want that sci-fi futuristic imaginary of technology that we were promised in the 90s. That's why with DarkFi, we're trying to bring back that vision of technology we were promised. Like reality versus expectation. Instead, we have like MetaMask. MetaMask is absolutely terrible. Dark Wallet was actually the first web wallet. And when we made that, instantly, there was 6 different Bitcoin web wallets. And we imagined back then that you were shopping online and you go, oh, that's cool, I want to buy that. And so you just one click, and then you buy the products, using your web wallet in your browser. And, then Vitalik went and he made Ethereum, and then MetaMask got created. But somehow it morphed from that original vision. We don't buy things online using that. We use QR codes. But somehow we end up with this thing where it's like, oh, you deploy a website, it's a web app, you've got this MetaMask. And it's just such a crappy, it's such a bad paradigm. It's non-portable, it's insecure, So why we don't have our own app? Like, why don't we have saw the original Mist wallet for Ethereum. That looks so cool. What happened to that? Why don't we have like that? Why is there this risk for devs of hosting the front end? It shouldn't exist at all. It should be like full peer-to-peer distribution. It's completely possible, but it's like we've reached that terminal stage where, like they say the Empire State Building was built in 1 year, but now they can't even build it costs like $20 billion and they can't build like 500 meters of train line in California. So it's kind of like Ethereum where there's these mega budgets, mega huge projects trying to build, and it's like a singularity. They can never approach a singularity. They get closer and closer. And there's a lot of coping where they're going, oh, well, we didn't reach the original goal, but we did do these side missions. And it's kind of, why is it that DarkFi, where there are projects that have 20 to 100x or more of our budget, have not even been able to do 20% of what we've done? Like, what's up with that? So we are making our own app, and we have where is it? We have a dev meeting every Monday We're building the empire of cypherpunk. And, to conclude, they call us criminals, but they're the true criminals. And in the end, history will be the final judge of our actions, and history will absolve us. And anonymity, it's not just about protecting yourself when you go to the bathroom. It's way more than that. It's about, as Satoshi said himself, it's about expanding the territory of freedom outwards. Privacy is not normie. Privacy is special. It's exceptional. It's something we have to struggle for, and we fight for it. And we're in this dark forest, and we are forest rebels. And this RegFi DarkFi split is going to come. And this is a really important point, because I study a lot of math, and I read math every day. And it's like you're reading math, and you go, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting mathematical truth. Mother Nature is based on mathematics. Mathematics is literally like, the language of the cosmos. And what we as cryptographers do is we take those mathematical truths and we construct cryptographic schemas. So when we are using cryptography, we are literally summoning the power of Mother Nature to protect society against the state. And there is nothing they can do about that, because violence cannot solve math problems. Crypto regulation is an open and official provocation against liberty and sovereignty, and all who advocate for it are domestic enemies of the people and must be absolutely opposed. The right of the people to keep and deploy cryptography shall not be infringed. There is a struggle between the previously creative and now outworn sensate order and the new emerging creative idealistic forces in all fields of social and cultural life. Every important aspect of Western social life is in crisis. Its body and mind are ill. We are between two epochs, the dying sensate culture of a magnificent yesterday and the coming idealistic culture of a creative tomorrow. The rays of sun still illuminate the glory of the passing epoch, but the light is fading, and in the deepening shadows, it becomes more and more difficult to see clearly in the confusion of twilight. The night of the transitory period stands before us, with its nightmares, shadows, and horrors. Beyond it, the dawn of a great culture is waiting to greet the people of the future. The moon illuminates our path through the coming long night. Let there be dark.